Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going deep into the world of Kim Eun-ja.
Oh, yeah.
You sent over a collection of her essays,
Mm-hmm.
and from what I've skimmed,
Yeah.
they're intense.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking lost family, finding beauty in the most unexpected places.
Mm-hmm.
But also, she's a Korean author, so I was hoping maybe we could unpack how those experiences might be unique to her culture, too.
I think that's a great point because what I find so fascinating about Kim Eun-ja is how she manages to weave the personal with the universal, you know?
Yeah.
Her stories are so deeply rooted in her own experiences as a Korean woman,
Mm-hmm.
but those themes she explores, resilience, the search for meaning, they resonate with people from all walks of life.
Okay, let's jump right in.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm a sucker for an underdog story.
Yeah.
And the one about Chun Wong immediately grabbed me, just to set this up for anyone who isn't familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Chun Wong has cerebral palsy,
Right.
and Kim Eun-ja doesn't sugarcoat it. She talks about how people viewed those with this condition back then.
Right.
Like, she uses terms that are honestly pretty harsh to read nowadays.
Yeah, that language was jarring, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It really throws you back into a different time and place, you know?
Certainly.
A different set of cultural beliefs. But it also really sets the stage for Chung Wong's journey.
Yeah.
To me, his story isn't just about resilience. It's about how societal perceptions can shape a person's life.
Right.
You know, how they can either limit or empower them.
And I'm dying to know how his story ends. Like, Kim Eun-ja hints at a turning point in his life, but she leaves us hanging. It's like she's inviting us to imagine the possibilities, to consider how someone can overcome such adversity and find their own path to fulfillment.
It's almost as though she's planting a seed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Leaving us with that sense of hope,
Yeah.
that possibility for transformation.
Okay, switching gears a bit, nature.
Yeah.
Kim Eun-ja is clearly obsessed with forests.
Yes.
Not just pretty trees, but like forests as a source of wisdom, a place to heal and find perspective.
Absolutely. And she even compares forests to soup. Soup. I mean, who thinks of soup when they think of a forest?
Right.
But it's such a brilliant metaphor, right?
Yeah.
It gets at this idea that forests are these complex ecosystems.
Okay.
Where all these different elements come together to create something beautiful and harmonious.
I get the soup metaphor, but I think her anecdote about the deer and antelope leaping over fences into her backyard is even more powerful.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost menacing the way she describes it.
Yeah.
Like, is she afraid of nature too,
Interesting.
even though she finds solace in it?
That's a great point. It's not just about passive appreciation of nature, is it?
Right.
There's this tension, this recognition that nature can be both beautiful and de-destructive,
Yeah.
both nurturing and threatening.
Yeah.
And I think that tension reflects a deeper truth about our relationship with the natural world.
Speaking of complex relationships, another essay that really struck a chord with me is the one about the young boy
Oh, yeah.
who has to walk his little sibling 2 miles home from school every day.
Mm-hmm.
The responsibility, the weight on his little shoulders, I've felt it.
Yeah, that one hit me hard too.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is that the resilience she's highlighting isn't this grand, heroic act.
Yeah.
It's the quiet, everyday resilience of a child forced to grow up too fast.
Yeah.
And a mother struggling to make ends meet.
And the way she describes that 2-mile walk, it's almost like a metaphor for the journey.
Mm-hmm.
They're both on the mother and the son.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It's a journey filled with hardship, with anxiety, with fear,
totally.
but they keep going one step at a time.
It's like she's saying that resilience isn't always about overcoming some huge obstacle.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about putting one foot in front of the other day after day, even when the path ahead is uncertain.
Okay. This next one is heavy.
Oh.
It's so beautifully written. It's about Kim Eun-ja's mother and her life after her husband passed away.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about resilience a lot.
Right.
But this essay goes deeper into what it means to keep going after profound loss.
Right.
How grief and joy can coexist.
It's about finding those moments of light in the darkness, isn't it?
Totally.
Like the anecdote about their trip to Shenandoah National Park.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect someone grieving to be filled with joy amidst such beauty.
Yeah.
But Kim Eun-ja captures that so perfectly.
Yeah.
And it suggests that even when a part of us is broken, we're still capable of experiencing those moments of pure joy and connection.
It's like she's showing us that resilience isn't about erasing grief or pretending that everything's okay.
Yeah.
It's about finding a way to live with the pain, to honor the memories,
Mm-hmm.
while also seeking out those moments of beauty and connection
Yeah.
that allow us to keep going.
And it ties back to that idea of nature as a source of healing, doesn't it?
Right.
The way Kim Yoon-ja describes her mother's joy in experiencing the natural beauty of Shenandoah,
Yeah.
it's almost like she's finding solace and renewal in the vastness of the landscape, in the cycles of life and death that are so evident in the natural world.
Okay. This next essay is one that I think a lot of people, especially creative types, will relate to.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with Kim Yoon-ja reflecting on her brother,
Okay.
whose artistic talents were kind of pushed aside because of the pressure to follow a more traditional career path.
That age-old conflict between individual passion and societal expectations.
Exactly.
And what's so insightful is that she doesn't just present it as a generational thing, like older folks just don't get it.
Right.
She connects her brother's experience to her own son's artistic inclinations, showing how these pressures can persist, but also how our definitions of success are changing.
Exactly. Like, maybe for Kim Yoon-ja's son being a TikTok star, I.S. success,
Right.
not just a corporate job, you know?
Exactly.
But the essay makes you wonder if those old pressures, that need for stability and approval, are still there, just in a different form.
It's like she's asking us to examine our own assumptions about what constitutes a successful life. Are we measuring success based on external markers like wealth or status?
Yeah.
Or are we recognizing the value of individual fulfillment,
Right.
the pursuit of passions, even if those passions don't fit neatly into those traditional categories?
Okay. Get ready for this one. It's about a woman named Hyoke. That's how it's pronounced, I think.
Oh, okay.
But the story is universal. Imagine hitting rock bottom, and the thing that saves you is digging in the dirt.
I get it.
Right.
We've talked about nature being this big theme,
Yeah.
but this is so personal. Like, is Kim Yoon-ja saying only nature heals, or is the garden symbolic of something else?
I was fascinated by the metaphor of pruning.
Yeah.
Hyoke finds solace in her garden. But it's not just about beauty.
Right.
It's about tending to those plants.
Yeah.
Cutting away the dead stuff so new life can flourish.
Right.
It's like she's pruning her own life, too.
Absolutely.
Getting rid of what's holding her back.
And that image of pruning is so powerful, isn't it? It's about making those tough choices.
Yeah.
Letting go of things that might be familiar or comfortable, but are ultimately hindering our growth.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it applies to so many aspects of life, whether it's relationships, beliefs, habits, or even just physical clutter.
And you know what's really cool?
What's that?
I feel like Kim Yoon-ja is doing a kind of pruning with her writing, too.
Oh, yeah.
She's taking these raw, messy experiences and shaping them into these beautiful, insightful stories.
Yeah.
It's like she's showing us that even in the most difficult parts of life, there's beauty and meaning to be found if we're willing to look for it.
That's such a profound observation. It's like she's taking these overgrown, tangled experiences and shaping them into something beautiful and meaningful. And in doing so, she's inviting us, the listeners, to do the same with our own lives, to find the beauty, the lessons, even in the most challenging of circumstances.
All right. Let's explore another essay that delves into the complex dynamics of family relationships, particularly the evolving roles of parents and children as time passes and circumstances change.
Family relationships are such fertile ground for exploring these universal themes, aren't they?
Yeah.
The love, the loyalty, the conflicts, the shifting power dynamics as children grow older and become more independent.
Totally.
It's a constant dance, a negotiation of boundaries and expectations.
Right.
And it's often a source of both joy and heartache.
This particular essay focuses on Kim Yoon-ja's older brother,
Okay.
whose artistic talents were essentially dismissed by their family because they didn't align with their traditional views of a stable and respectable career. It's a story that resonates with so many of us, the struggle to reconcile our passions with the expectations of those we love and respect, especially within the context of family.
It's that age-old conflict between individual aspirations and societal pressures, isn't it? And what's so insightful is that Kim Yoon-ja doesn't just present it as a generational thing.
Yeah.
Older folks just don't get it.
Right.
She connects her brother's experience to her own son's artistic inclinations, creating this intergenerational dialogue about the changing perceptions of success and fulfillment.
Exactly. It's like she's acknowledging that those societal pressures can persist across generations, but also that our definitions of success are evolving. Like maybe for Kim Yoon-ja's son being a successful YouTuber or graphic designer, I.S. a valid path.
Yeah.
even if it doesn't fit neatly into those traditional categories of doctor, lawyer, engineer.
It's prompting us to examine our own assumptions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are we holding on to those outdated definitions of success that might have limited our own choices? Or are we open to embracing a wider range of possibilities, recognizing that fulfillment can take many forms?
Yeah.
And that true success often lies in pursuing our passions, even if those passions don't fit neatly into those predefined boxes.
And I love how she doesn't shy away from the messiness of it all.
Oh, yeah.
She acknowledges the hurt, the disappointment,
Right.
the sense of betrayal that can arise when those expectations clash with our individual desires.
Yeah.
But she also highlights the importance of communication, of understanding, and of finding ways to bridge those generational gaps,
Yeah.
to create space for both tradition and de-innovation,
Right.
for both honoring our families and pursuing our own paths.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah,
Between respecting those who came before us, who shaped our values and beliefs,
right.
and also forging our own identities,
Yeah.
pursuing our own dreams, even if those dreams look different from what our families might have envisioned for us.
All right, let's dive into an essay that explores a different kind of loss.
Oh, yeah.
One that's often overlooked or even dismissed.
Okay.
The loss of a pet.
The loss of a pet.
Yeah.
It's a unique kind of grief, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Those animals become such integral members of our families, offering unconditional love,
Yeah,
companionship,
totally.
and a sense of joy that can enrich our lives in countless ways.
Yeah.
And when they're gone, that void can feel immense.
This essay is about Kim and-eunja's beloved dog,
Okay.
a loyal companion who was by her side through many life transitions.
Oh.
She talks about the unconditional love he offered, the comfort he provided,
Yeah.
and the ways in which he became an extension of her own family.
Right.
And when he eventually passes away, the grief she experiences is palpable. It's a reminder that the bonds we form with animals
Yeah.
can be just as deep and meaningful as the bonds we form with humans.
And she doesn't shy away from the societal stigma that sometimes surrounds grieving for a pet.
Right.
You know, there's this unspoken expectation that it's somehow less significant than grieving for a human.
Yeah.
But she challenges that notion, arguing that the depth of our grief is not determined by the species of the being we've lost, but by the depth of the love and connection we shared.
Exactly. And she talks about the ways in which her dog's death
Yeah.
has forced her to confront her own mortality, to acknowledge the fragility of life,
Right.
and to appreciate the preciousness of each moment.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to cherish those we love, both human and animal,
Yeah.
and to savor those moments of connection, of joy,
Yeah.
of shared experience, knowing that those moments are ultimately fleeting.
It's a beautiful message, isn't it?
Yeah.
To honor those bonds, those connections,
Yeah.
those relationships that enrich our lives regardless of species or social conventions.
Now let's shift gears a bit and delve into an essay that explores a more lighthearted topic.
Okay.
Kim Inoye's experiences with American food and her attempts to master the English language.
Oh, yeah.
It's a humorous and insightful piece
Yeah.
that highlights the challenges and rewards of navigating cultural differences, particularly in the realm of food and communication.
Food and language.
Wow.
They're such integral parts of culture, aren't they? Yeah.
They shape our identities,
Right.
our experiences, and our ways of connecting with the world around us, and they often become even more salient when we're navigating different cultures.
Yeah.
As we encounter new flavors, new customs, and new ways of communicating.
She talks about her early struggles with American food.
Oh, really?
Her initial aversion to peanut butter, can you imagine?
Oh, no.
Her confusion over the vast array of breakfast cereals.
Yeah.
And her gradual adaptation to these new flavors and culinary customs. It's like a culinary journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Filled with missteps, surprises, and ultimately a growing appreciation for the diversity of human experience.
It's a reminder that food is more than just sustenance.
Right.
It's a cultural touchstone.
Yeah.
Way to connect with history, tradition, and community.
Right.
And when we encounter different cultures, we're often encountering different ways of relating to food, different ways of preparing and sharing it,
Right.
and different ways of imbuing it with meaning and significance. And her experiences with the English language are equally amusing, insightful.
Yeah.
She talks about her mispronunciations, her grammatical errors,
Right.
and those hilarious moments when she's trying to communicate, but her words get tangled up.
Yeah.
The meaning gets lost in translation.
It's a reminder that language learning is a journey.
Totally.
one that requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to embrace vulnerability.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that can be filled with both frustration and delight
All right.
as we slowly unlock the nuances of a new language
Yeah.
and gain access to new ways of thinking, expressing ourselves, and connecting with the world.
And what's so refreshing about her approach is that
Right.
she embraces those stumbles, those moments of awkwardness, those
Yeah.
cultural faux pas with a sense of humor and self-deprecation.
I love that. It's like
Yeah.
she's saying, hey, this is all part of the process.
Yeah.
And it's okay to laugh at ourselves, to
Yeah.
acknowledge the messiness,
Mm-hmm.
and to find joy in the journey, even when we're not quite fluent.
It's a beautiful message.
Yeah.
And it's one that resonates deeply in a world that's becoming increasingly interconnected and diverse.
Mm-hmm.
By embracing those differences, by approaching them with curiosity and a willingness to learn,
Yeah.
we can create a more vibrant and harmonious world.
Absolutely.
One that celebrates the unique contributions of all cultures and all people.
Now let's delve into an essay that takes a more philosophical approach,
Okay.
exploring the concept of outsiders and their unique contributions to society.
Interesting.
It's a thought-provoking piece that challenges conventional notions of success, conformity, and the value of dissenting voices.
The concept of the outsider is fascinating to me because it speaks to those individuals who operate outside of mainstream norms,
Right.
who challenge conventions, and who often bring fresh perspectives and innovative ideas to the table.
Mm-hmm.
What's Kim Eunja's take on the role of outsiders in society?
Well, she starts by asserting that true art often emerges from those who exist outside the boundaries of established norms, those who are willing to challenge conventions and forge their own paths.
Mm-hmm.
She argues that these outsiders possess a unique ability to see the world differently,
Right.
to express those unconventional perspectives through their art,
Yeah.
and to push the boundaries of creative expression.
It's a powerful argument.
Mm-hmm.
And it challenges the notion that creativity thrives within the confines of established systems.
Yeah.
Like, she's suggesting that true innovation often comes from those who operate outside of those systems,
Exactly.
who are willing to take risks to experiment and to challenge the status quo.
And she uses the term outsider not in a negative or derogatory sense,
Right.
but as a badge of honor,
Yeah.
symbol of those who dare to be different, who refuse to conform to expectations that might stifle their individuality and creativity.
It's a reclaiming of the term, isn't it?
Exactly.
Often outsider is used to marginalize or dismiss those who don't fit neatly into societal norms.
Right.
But Kim Eunja is celebrating those who embrace their outsider status,
Yes.
who see it as a source of strength and a catalyst for creativity.
And she connects this to her own experiences as an artist,
Yeah.
the challenges she's faced in navigating those societal expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and the rewards she's reaped by staying true to her own vision, even if that vision hasn't always aligned with the mainstream.
It's a reminder that the pursuit of artistic expression,
Yeah.
of any form of creative endeavor, often requires a certain level of nonconformity,
Right.
a willingness to stand apart from the crowd
Mm-hmm.
and embrace a different way of seeing and experiencing the world.
And she doesn't shy away from the difficulties that come with being an outsider.
Right.
She acknowledges the loneliness, the isolation,
Yeah,
the potential for misunderstanding or rejection.
totally.
But she argues that those challenges are ultimately worth it
Mm-hmm.
because they allow for a greater level of authenticity, freedom, and creative expression.
And she connects this to the idea of taste,
Yeah.
suggesting that what might be considered tasteless or unconventional to some might actually be the most innovative and groundbreaking work.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Bush.
It's about challenging our assumptions about what constitutes good art,
Mm-hmm.
about expanding our palettes, and about being open to new forms of expression that might initially seem jarring or unfamiliar.
It's a call for greater openness, isn't it?
Totally.
To step outside of our comfort zones, to challenge our preconceived notions of what art should be,
Yeah.
and to embrace the diversity of human expression, even if it sometimes pushes us beyond the familiar or the comfortable.
All right, let's shift gears and explore an essay that focuses on a topic that's often considered taboo or even repulsive:
Okay.
the significance of bodily waste,
Okay.
particularly feces.
Wow, that's a bold choice.
Right.
It's certainly not a subject that typically comes up in polite conversation.
No loan literature.
I'm curious to hear how Kim Eunja approaches this topic.
Yeah.
Is it purely scientific, or is there a deeper, more philosophical layer to it?
It's definitely both.
Okay.
She starts by acknowledging the cultural aversion we have to feces,
Right.
The disgust, it evokes the lengths we go to sanitize and distance ourselves from it.
Yeah.
Then she flips the script,
Okay.
arguing that it's a natural part of life,
Yeah.
essential to the cycle of nature, a symbol of our connection to the earth.
It's a really interesting way to challenge our ideas about what's clean or unclean.
Right.
It makes you think about how those concepts are often culturally constructed.
Yeah.
And how we tend to shy away from those aspects of life that we deem unpleasant or dirty, even though they're essential parts of the natural world.
And you know what's wild?
What's that?
She even talks about the beauty of feces.
Oh, wow.
The way it enriches the soil, nourishes new life.
Interesting.
It's like she's saying, look, this is part of the cycle, and it's not something to be ashamed of or disgusted by.
It's a radical notion, isn't it?
Yeah.
To find beauty in something that's so often associated with disgust and repulsion.
Right.
But it's also a powerful reminder that beauty exists in many forms.
Yeah.
And that our perceptions of what's beautiful are often shaped by cultural norms and societal conditioning.
Okay, this next essay is one that really made me think about the power of perception.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly how our physical senses shape our understanding of the world. It starts with Kim Eun-ja talking about her aging eyesight and the need for reading glasses.
Right.
But it quickly expands outward from there.
Yeah.
To touch on these larger themes of perspective clarity and the beauty of blurred vision.
The idea of blurred vision as something positive is fascinating.
Right.
We usually associate blurry vision with impairment, with a loss of clarity.
Right.
But she's suggesting that there are situations where a little bit of blurriness, a willingness to let go of that need for perfect vision, can actually be beneficial.
And she connects this to her relationship with her children.
Okay.
Specifically as they enter adulthood. It's like she's saying, as a parent, I need to put on my metaphorical blurry vision glasses and let go of my need to control every aspect of their lives.
It's a beautiful metaphor for the evolving dynamics of parent-child relationships, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that as our children grow older, they need the space to make their own choices, their own mistakes, and to find their own paths, even if those paths diverge from what we might have envisioned for them.
And she even extends this idea of blurred vision to a broader societal perspective.
Oh, interesting.
Suggesting that we could all benefit from a little less clarity, a little more acceptance of ambiguity and nuance, particularly in our judgments of others and our interpretations of the world around us.
It's like she's advocating for a more compassionate and understanding approach to life.
Totally.
Recognizing that things aren't always black and white, that there are multiple perspectives, and that sometimes the most beautiful and meaningful experiences lie in those blurry spaces in between.
And she connects this to the Korean concept of aging gracefully.
Oh, really?
Of embracing the wisdom and perspective that comes with time. Of becoming more ear-obedient as our eyesight diminishes.
Interesting.
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
Suggesting that as we age, our senses shift. Our priorities change.
Right.
And we can find new sources of wisdom and meaning beyond the purely visual.
It's about cultivating a different kind of vision, isn't it? One that's perhaps less focused on the external and more attuned to the internal, to the whispers of our hearts, to the subtle nuances of human connection, to the rhythms of the natural world.
Now, this next one is juicy.
Oh, yeah.
It's about a woman named Ellen Browski.
Okay.
And get this. Her whole life is told through the metaphor of chewing gum.
Chewing gum.
Chewing gum.
That's an interesting choice. It's not exactly the first thing that comes to mind when you think of profound metaphors.
Right.
But I'm curious to hear how she pulls it off.
So Ellen has a series of marriages.
Oh.
And each one is like a piece of gum.
Okay.
She gets all the sweetness out of it, the social status, the benefits.
Yeah.
Then boom.
Yeah.
Spits it out.
Okay.
Next piece.
Whoa. Okay.
Hey.
That's pretty cynical.
Right.
But also relatable.
Yeah.
I mean, haven't we all encountered those relationships that felt like a flash in the pan?
Totally.
Intense for a while, but ultimately lacking substance.
And what's so brilliant is that Kim Eun-ja doesn't just paint Ellen as this heartless gold digger.
Yeah.
You get glimpses of her ambition, her intelligence, even a kind of loneliness that drives her to keep seeking that next piece of gum.
It's like she's trapped in this cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Always searching for that next hit of sweetness, that next validation, but never finding true fulfillment.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of chasing external gratification.
Yeah.
And how that pursuit can ultimately leave us feeling empty and disconnected from ourselves and others.
And you can't help but wonder, is this a reflection of societal pressures too?
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, are women conditioned to seek validation through relationships?
Mm-hmm.
To use their charm to get ahead?
It's definitely a question worth exploring, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much of Ellen's behavior is driven by her own internal desires versus those societal expectations that she's internalized?
Right.
It's a complex issue, and I think Kim Yoon-jae does a brilliant job of presenting those complexities without offering easy answers or judgments.
This next essay takes us back to nature, but with a twist.
Okay.
Remember those deer and antelope leaping into her backyard?
Yeah.
This time it's less about beauty and more about this unsettling feeling of boundaries being crossed, both literally and metaphorically.
Ah, so it's not just about finding solace in nature. It's also about acknowledging those moments when nature encroaches upon our human-made spaces.
Right.
It's also about acknowledging those moments when nature encroaches upon our human-made spaces.
Right.
Disrupting our sense of order and control.
And the language she uses is so vivid.
Yeah.
She describes her backyard as a swamp after the animals have invaded it.
Oh, wow.
It's like she's suggesting that even those spaces we've carefully cultivated, those havens we've created for ourselves, can become treacherous and unpredictable if we lose sight of our interconnectedness with the natural world.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not separate from nature.
Right.
We're a part of it. And our actions, our choices can have ripple effects that we might not anticipate.
Okay, let's dive into another essay that explores the theme of resilience, but from a different angle.
Okay.
It's not about overcoming some grand obstacle or achieving some heroic feat.
Right.
It's about the quiet, everyday resilience that's often overlooked or even dismissed.
Yeah.
The kind of resilience that's born out of necessity, out of facing daily challenges with grit and determination.
I'm really drawn to stories of quiet resilience.
Yeah, me too.
Because they often reflect the experiences of those who face systemic challenges or societal pressures, who navigate those hardships with a grace and a strength that's often invisible to those who haven't walked in their shoes.
This particular essay centers on a young boy who is tasked with walking his younger sibling 2 miles home from school every day.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just a physical journey.
Right.
It's an emotional one.
Yeah.
Filled with the weight of responsibility, the fear for his siblings' safety.
Right.
And the pressure to be strong.
Yeah.
Even though he's still a child himself.
It's a story that speaks volumes about the burdens that children sometimes have to bear.
Right.
The expectations placed upon them to grow up too quickly.
Yeah.
To be caregivers, protectors.
Yeah.
When they themselves are still in need of care and protection.
And what's so heartbreaking is that this situation isn't unique.
Right.
There are countless children around the world who are forced to take on adult responsibilities, to navigate poverty, violence, or other hardships that no child should have to face.
And yet, amidst those hardships, we often see this incredible resilience.
Yeah.
This ability to adapt, to cope, to find ways to make it work, to care for one another.
Right.
Even when the odds are stacked against them.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Especially in those who are most vulnerable.
Okay, this next one is one that I think a lot of us, especially those who are parents, will connect with. It's about the changing dynamics of parent-child relationships as children grow older. And the challenges and rewards of letting go of that parental control.
Right.
Of trusting our children to find their own paths, even if those paths diverge from what we might have envisioned for them.
The letting go process.
I know.
It's such a bittersweet journey, isn't it? To witness our children blossom into independent adults, to celebrate their achievements, and yet to also grapple with that sense of loss, that recognition that our roles as parents are shifting, that our influence is diminishing, and that they're forging their own identities separate from us.
Kim Yoon-jae frames this essay through the metaphor of blurred vision.
Oh, interesting.
Which she initially connects to her own aging eyesight. She talks focus, to accept that things aren't always as clear as they used to be.
Yeah.
And she extends that metaphor to her relationship with her children.
It's a brilliant analogy, isn't it? It's like she's saying, as a parent, I need to step back, to loosen my grip, to accept that I can't see everything perfectly clearly anymore.
Right.
And to trust that my children will find their own way.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the way I would have chosen for them.
And it's not easy.
Right.
It's a constant dance between holding on and letting go.
Yeah.
Between offering guidance and trusting their judgment.
Yeah.
Between celebrating their successes and offering comfort when they stumble.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it?
Right.
Between supporting them and empowering them.
Right.
Between offering advice and allowing them to make their own choices.
Yeah.
Even if those choices lead to mistakes or detours, it's about recognizing that their journey is ultimately their own.
Yeah.
And that our role as parents is to guide them, to love them unconditionally, and to trust in their ability to navigate the complexities of life.
And she connects this to a broader societal perspective as well.
Oh, really?
Suggesting that we could all benefit from a little more blurred vision, a little less judgment,
Yeah.
a little more acceptance of ambiguity and nuance in our interactions with others.
It's a call for greater compassion, isn't it?
Yeah.
To recognize that we don't always have the full picture,
Right.
that everyone is carrying their own burdens, their own stories,
Yeah.
and that sometimes the most loving and supportive thing we can do
Right.
is to simply listen, to offer a kind word, and to create a space for others to be themselves
Yeah.
without judgment or expectation.
Right. This next essay is a bit of a departure from the others in that it focuses on a seemingly mundane object.
Okay.
Chewing gum.
Chewing gum.
Chewing gum.
Interesting.
But as with many of Kim Yoonja's essays, she uses this everyday item as a springboard to explore deeper themes of relationships,
Yeah.
societal expectations, and the pursuit of fleeting pleasures.
Chewing gum.
Yeah.
It's such a common, almost disposable object, yet it carries a lot of cultural baggage, doesn't it? It can be associated with childhood,
Yeah.
with rebellion, with fleeting pleasures, and even with a certain level of social transgression.
Totally.
I'm curious to hear how Kim Yoonja uses this seemingly insignificant object to delve into more profound themes.
She starts by talking about the simple act of chewing,
Okay.
the repetitive motion, the temporary satisfaction of flavor,
Yeah.
and the eventual discarding of the gum once it's lost its sweetness.
Right.
And she connects this to the trajectory of some relationships, particularly romantic relationships, that often follow a similar pattern of initial attraction, intense enjoyment, and eventual disillusionment or boredom.
It's an interesting analogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
To compare the lifespan of a relationship
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
the lifespan of a piece of chewing gum.
Right.
It highlights the fleeting nature of some relationships.
Yeah.
The potential for passion to fade.
Right.
And the tendency to seek out new sources of excitement or satisfaction once the initial spark has dimmed.
And she uses this metaphor to tell the story of a woman named Ellen Browski,
Okay.
who goes through a series of marriages, either represented by a piece of chewing gum.
Okay.
She chews on each relationship for a while, extracting the sweetness, the benefits, the social status,
Right.
and then she moves on to the next one, leaving a trail of discarded gum in her wake.
It's a rather cynical portrayal of relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
To view them as disposable,
Right.
as something to be used and then discarded once they've served their purpose.
Yeah.
Is this a critique of Ellen's choices, or is there a deeper societal commentary at play?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
On the one hand,
Yeah.
it's a commentary on the societal pressures that women often face, particularly in a patriarchal society where their worth is often tied to their marital status,
Right.
their beauty,
Yeah.
and their ability to secure a successful husband. Ellen is ambitious-driven,
Yeah.
and she uses her relationships in part
Right.
to climb the social ladder.
So it's not just about a woman using men to get ahead.
Right.
It's also a reflection of the societal forces that shape those choices.
Yeah.
The expectations and pressures that can lead individuals to prioritize external validation
Right.
over genuine connection and fulfillment.
And the chewing gum metaphor highlights the emptiness of that pursuit. Just like chewing gum provides temporary satisfaction, but ultimately leaves us wanting more. Ellen's relentless pursuit of external validation
Right.
through relationships and material possessions
Yeah.
leaves her feeling hollow and unfulfilled.
It's a cautionary tale, isn't it?
Yeah.
A reminder that those external pursuits,
Right.
while perhaps alluring in the moment,
Yeah.
can ultimately lead to a sense of emptiness and disillusionment if we're not tending to our inner needs and desires.
Okay, this next essay is one that really made me pause and reflect on the way we perceive the world and how those perceptions can shift over time.
Yeah.
It starts with Kim Yoon-ja talking about the loss of her eyesight as she gets older,
Okay.
the need for reading glasses.
Right.
But it quickly becomes clear that she's not just talking of literal vision. She's talking about a metaphorical way of seeing the world.
Oh, interesting.
A shift in perspective that comes with age, with experience,
Yeah.
and with the wisdom that can emerge from those experiences.
The theme of aging and how it affects our perceptions is such a rich one, isn't it? It's not just about physical changes.
Right.
It's also about how those physical changes can trigger internal shifts.
Yeah.
A reevaluation of priorities, a deeper understanding of what truly matters in life.
And what's so interesting is that she doesn't frame this loss of eyesight as purely negative.
Right.
She actually embraces it,
Oh, wow.
suggesting that this blurred vision can be beneficial in certain situations, particularly in her relationships with her children as they become adults and begin to forge their own paths.
Ah, that's a fascinating concept. It's like she's saying, as a parent, I need to let go of my need for perfect clarity, to accept that I can't see everything clearly anymore, and to trust that my children will find their own way, even if it's not the way I would have chosen for them.
Exactly. And she even extends this idea of blurred vision to a broader societal perspective,
Oh, interesting.
suggesting that we could all benefit from a little less judgment,
Yep.
a little more acceptance of ambiguity and nuance
Right.
in our interactions with others.
It's a call for greater compassion, isn't it?
Totally.
To recognize that we don't always have the full picture,
Yeah.
that everyone is carrying their own burdens, their own stories, and that sometimes the most loving and supportive thing we can do is to simply listen, to offer a kind word,
Yeah.
and to create a space for others to be themselves without judgment or expectation.
And she connects this to the Korean concept of aging gracefully,
Oh, really?
of embracing the wisdom and perspective that comes with time, of becoming more ear-obedient as our eyesight diminishes.
That's
It's
beautiful.
a beautiful concept,
Yeah.
suggesting that as we age, our senses shift, our priorities change,
Right.
and we can find new sources of wisdom and meaning beyond the purely visual.
Now, this next one threw me for a loop.
Oh, yeah.
It's about poop.
Oh.
Literally.
Oh, wow.
Kim Yoon-ja dives into the cultural taboos surrounding bodily waste.
Yeah.
Especially feces, and I have to admit, it made me squirm a bit at first.
Yeah, totally.
But I think that's what makes Kim Yoon-ja's writing so compelling. She's willing to go there
Yeah.
to explore those topics that most people would shy away from, and to find beauty and meaning in the most unexpected places.
I mean, who writes an essay about poop and makes it poetic?
I know.
But she does it.
Yeah.
She talks about how we try so hard to sanitize and distance ourselves from our own waste.
Right.
But then she flips the script
Yeah.
and argues that it's a natural part of life, essential to the cycle of nature,
Right,
a symbol of our connection to the earth.
It's like she's challenging us to confront our own discomfort, to examine those cultural norms that dictate what's considered clean or unclean,
Right.
and to recognize that those distinctions are often arbitrary and even harmful.
And she even goes so far as to talk about the beauty of feces,
Oh, wow.
the way it enriches the soil,
Right.
nourishes new life. It made me think about how we often focus on the beautiful,
Yeah.
the pleasant, the aesthetically pleasing aspects of life.
Yeah.
But we tend to ignore or even revile those aspects that we deem ugly or disgusting,
Right.
even though they're just as essential to the balance of nature.
It's a reminder that everything is interconnected, isn't it?
Yeah.
The beautiful and the ugly, the clean and the unclean, the life-giving and the decaying. And it's in that interconnectedness that we find wholeness, balance,
Totally.
and a deeper appreciation for the complexity of the natural world.
Okay, get ready for a story that'll make you laugh and cringe at the same time.
Oh, okay.
This one's all about Kim Yoon-ja's experiences as an immigrant in America. Specifically, her encounters with American food and her attempts to master the English language.
I love stories about cultural clashes.
Oh, they're so good.
They're so relatable, especially for those of us who have lived or traveled in different countries.
Right.
Those moments of miscommunication, those unexpected cultural norms, they can be both hilarious and de-humbling.
She talks about her initial aversion to peanut butter. Can you imagine?
Oh, no.
And her confusion over the sheer variety of breakfast cereals.
Yeah.
And she's so honest about her struggles with the English language. Those times when she completely butchered a phrase or accidentally said something wildly inappropriate.
It's refreshing to hear someone talk about those experiences with such humor and self-awareness.
Yeah.
It reminds us that it's okay to make mistakes, to stumble,
Yeah.
to not always get it right,
Yeah.
especially when we're navigating a new culture and a new language.
And it's not just tea about the funny anecdotes.
Right.
It's also about the deeper message of embracing those differences,
Yeah.
of finding joy in those moments of cross-cultural exchange,
Yeah.
and of recognizing that our differences, whether in language, food, or customs, can be sources of enrichment and connection,
Right.
rather than barriers or points of division.
It's a beautiful reminder that diversity makes life more interesting,
Totally.
more vibrant, and more flavorful, both literally and metaphorically.
Okay, this next essay takes us into the world of mentors and teachers, exploring the profound impact that these individuals can have on our lives, particularly in the realm of creative endeavors.
The role of mentors.
It's so important.
It's such a powerful and often complex dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those individuals who see something in us
Right.
that we might not yet see in ourselves, who nurture our talents,
Yeah.
who challenge us to grow, who guide us on our paths of self-discovery.
Totally.
But it's also a relationship that requires careful navigation,
Right.
a balance of trust, respect, and a willingness to let go.
Kim Eun-ja starts by acknowledging the importance of mentors, particularly in the early stages of our development, when we're still finding our footing,
Right.
exploring our passions, and seeking guidance and inspiration. She talks about the mentors who have shaped her own life,
Oh, cool.
those who have encouraged her, challenged her, and helped her to see her own potential.
It's a beautiful tribute to the power of mentorship, isn't it?
Totally.
To those individuals who believe in us,
Yeah.
who champion our dreams, who open doors for us, who share their wisdom and experience, and who help us to navigate those challenges that inevitably arise on our creative journeys.
But she also cautions against the potential pitfalls of mentorship,
Oh, interesting.
particularly those situations where the mentor's ego or need for control can overshadow the mentee's growth and development.
Right.
She talks about the importance of finding mentors
Yeah.
who are truly invested in our success, who are willing to let go,
Right.
and who empower us to find our own voices and forge our own paths.
It's a wise observation.
Yeah.
And it highlights the delicate balance that exists in any mentorship relationship.
Right.
It's about finding those mentors who are not threatened by our growth, who celebrate our successes, and who encourage us to step out of their shadows and become our own leaders.
And she uses the metaphor of birds and flight to illustrate this dynamic.
Oh, I love that.
She talks about the birds who are taught to fly by their parents, who are nurtured and protected in the nest until they're ready to take their first solo flight.
Right.
But she also acknowledges that sometimes those parent birds can be reluctant to let go,
Oh, yeah.
to allow their offspring to spread their wings and soar on their own.
It's a beautiful analogy that captures the essence of true mentorship.
Yeah.
The willingness to guide and support while also recognizing the importance of letting go, of allowing the mentee to discover their own strength and find their own wings.
And she connects this to the creative process, suggesting that sometimes those mentors who have helped us to develop our skills to find our voices can become obstacles to our further growth if they cling to their own methods, their own perspectives, and their own need for control.
It's a reminder that creative growth often requires a certain level of rebellion, a willingness to break free from those influences that might be holding us back, and to embrace new ideas, new approaches, and new ways of expressing ourselves.
And she argues that true mentors, those who are truly invested in our growth, will celebrate those moments of rebellion, those departures from the familiar, as signs of our evolving artistry and our growing independence.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful vision of mentorship, one that's rooted in mutual respect, trust, and a deep belief in the mentee's potential to soar beyond those initial teachings and forge their own path.
Okay, this next one is about something so simple, so everyday. But Kim Eun-ja, as always, finds a way to make it profound. It's about eyeglasses.
Why glasses?
Yep, eyeglasses.
I mean, they're a symbol of vision, of clarity, but also of limitation, of needing assistance to see the world clearly.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear how she weaves that into a larger narrative.
She starts by talking about her own need for reading glasses as she gets older.
Okay.
And how she initially resisted it.
Yeah.
Feeling like it was a sign of weakness or decline.
Right.
But then she has this realization that maybe this blurred vision is actually a good thing.
Oh, wow.
Especially in certain aspects of life.
That's such a powerful reframing.
Yeah.
To take something we often perceive as a negative, a loss of visual acuity,
Right.
and to see it as a potential strength.
Yeah.
A different way of perceiving the world that can actually be beneficial.
And she connects this to her relationship with her children.
Okay.
Specifically, the need to let go of that parental control as they become adults. It's like she's saying, I need to put on my blurry vision glasses and trust that they'll find their own way.
Right.
Even if I can't see the path as clearly as I used to.
It's a beautiful metaphor for the challenges and the rewards of parenting, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
To recognize that our children are not extensions of ourselves, that they have their own unique journeys to embark on.
Right.
And that our role is to support them, to love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
And to trust in their ability to navigate the complexities of life, even when we can't see the path ahead as clearly as we'd like.
And she even extends this idea of blurred vision to a broader societal perspective,
Oh, interesting.
suggesting that we could all benefit from a little less judgment, a little more acceptance of ambiguity and nuance in our interactions with others.
It's a call for greater empathy and understanding, isn't it?
Yeah.
To recognize that we don't always have the full picture,
Right.
that everyone is carrying their own burdens, their own stories, and that sometimes the most loving and supportive thing we can do is to simply listen,
Yeah.
to offer a kind word, and to create a space for others to be themselves without judgment or expectation.
All right. This next essay might make you feel a little uncomfortable,
Oh, okay.
but I think it's one of the most powerful in the collection. It's about something that's often considered taboo or even repulsive.
Okay.
The significance of bodily waste, particularly feces.
Whoa, okay. That's definitely not a topic you typically see explored in literature.
Yeah.
Especially with such directness.
I know, right?
I'm curious to hear how she approaches this subject matter.
Yeah.
Is it purely scientific, or is there a more philosophical or even spiritual dimension to it?
It's a blend of all of those perspectives.
Yeah, okay.
She starts by acknowledging the cultural aversion to feces,
Right.
the disgust it often evokes,
Yeah.
and the ways in which we try to sanitize and distance ourselves from it. But then she flips the script,
Okay.
arguing that it's a natural part of life,
Right.
a necessary byproduct of our biological processes,
Yeah.
and a powerful symbol of the interconnectedness between our bodies and the natural world.
It's a thought-provoking perspective.
Yeah.
Because it challenges our assumptions about what's natural and what's unnatural.
Totally.
We often try to separate ourselves from those aspects of life that we find unpleasant or distasteful.
Okay.
But she's suggesting that those aspects are just as much a part of the natural order as the things we find beautiful or appealing.
And she even goes so far as to argue that there's beauty to be found in feces,
Oh, wow.
in its earthy smell, its transformative power as fertilizer,
Oh, interesting.
and its role in the cycle of life and decay.
Right.
It made me think about how our perceptions of beauty are often so culturally conditioned,
Yeah.
and how we tend to overlook or even reject those aspects of nature that we deem ugly or disgusting.
It's a reminder to expand our definition of beauty, isn't it?
Totally.
To recognize that beauty can be found in unexpected places, even in those aspects of life that we might initially find repulsive.
Yeah.
And it's also a reminder to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, to acknowledge those aspects of ourselves in the world that we might prefer to ignore.
Yeah.
And to recognize that even in those seemingly unclean or unpleasant realms,
Yeah.
there's potential for beauty, for
Right.
creativity, and for deeper understanding.
Okay, this next essay is a bit more lighthearted,
Okay.
a bit more whimsical.
Yeah.
But it still manages to touch on some profound themes about the nature of time memory and the ways in which our past experiences shape our present perceptions and choices.
Time and memory.
I know.
They're such elusive concepts, aren't they?
Yeah.
The way time seems to flow both linearly and cyclically, the way our memories are both vivid and fragmented, the way our past selves haunt our present, shaping our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, even when we're not consciously aware of those influences.
Kim starts by reflecting on a specific childhood memory.
Okay.
A seemingly insignificant moment that has stayed with her throughout her life.
Yeah.
And she talks about how that memory, despite its apparent triviality, holds a certain power over her, a significance that she can't quite explain.
Interesting.
Like a keyhole through which she glimpses her childhood self, her past experiences, and the ways in which those experiences have shaped who she is today.
Yeah. It's fascinating how those seemingly insignificant memories can sometimes hold such power over us, isn't it? It's like those memories are holding a piece of our identity, a clue to who we are, and who we might become.
And she connects this to the idea that our memories are not always reliable.
Right.
That they can be distorted by time, by emotion, by our own subjective experiences.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying that the past is not fixed or immutable.
Right.
It's a fluid, ever-changing narrative that we're constantly rewriting in our minds.
It's a reminder to be mindful of those narratives we create, isn't it?
Totally.
To recognize that our memories are not always objective truths,
Right.
but rather interpretations. Filtered through our own emotions, biases, and beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge to be open to revising those narratives as we gain new insights and perspectives, to acknowledge the complexities of the past.
Yeah.
And to embrace the ongoing evolution of our identities.
Okay, this next essay takes us into the realm of nature, but with a twist. It's not about the beauty or the tranquility of nature. It's about those moments when nature encroaches upon our human-made spaces.
Right.
Disrupting our sense of order and control.
Yeah.
And reminding us that we're ultimately not as separate from the natural world as we might like to believe.
The tension between humans and nature.
It's so real.
It's a theme that's been explored in literature and art for centuries, isn't it?
Yeah.
That primal fear of the wild.
Totally.
The unknown, the forces that are beyond our control. But it's also a reminder of our interconnectedness with nature.
Right.
The ways in which our actions impact the environment. And the need to find a more harmonious balance between our human desires and the needs of the natural world.
She starts by describing a rather unsettling experience she had.
Oh.
With a group of deer that invaded her backyard.
Oh, no.
And she doesn't romanticize them as these beautiful, graceful creatures.
Right.
She describes them as intruders, marauders, even thugs, disrupting the carefully cultivated order of her garden.
Yeah.
Leaving behind a trail of destruction.
It's a reminder that nature can be both beautiful and destructive, isn't it?
Yeah.
That those forces we often admire from a distance can also pose a threat to our sense of safety, security, and control.
And she uses the word swamp to describe her backyard after the deer had been through it.
Oh, wow.
Suggesting that even those spaces we've carefully cultivated, those havens we've created for ourselves, can become treacherous and unpredictable if we lose sight of our interconnectedness with the natural world.
It's a powerful image, and it speaks to the unintended consequences of our actions. The ways in which our attempts to control or manipulate nature can sometimes backfire.
Right.
Creating imbalances that threaten both the natural world and our own well-being.
It made me think about those moments in our own lives when things feel out of control. When those carefully constructed boundaries we've created around ourselves start to crumble.
Right.
And we're forced to confront those forces that are larger than us, those aspects of life that we can't predict or control.
It's a reminder to embrace that uncertainty, isn't it?
Totally.
To recognize that life is not always predictable or orderly, and that sometimes those moments of disruption, those encounters with the wildness within and around us, can be opportunities for growth, for transformation, for a deeper understanding of our place in the grand scheme of things.
All right, let's dive into an essay that explores the complexities of family relationships.
Okay.
Particularly those moments when our loved ones make choices that we don't understand, that challenge our values, and that ultimately force us to confront our own limitations and biases.
Family relationships are such a rich source of both love and conflict, aren't they?
For sure.
Those bonds of blood. of shared history, of deep emotional connection.
Right.
They can be incredibly strong.
Yeah.
But they can also be incredibly challenging, especially when those individuals within the family make choices that clash with our own beliefs or expectations.
This particular essay focuses on Kim Yoonja's brother,
Okay.
who makes a series of choices that she struggles to reconcile with her own values. He drops out of college.
Oh, wow.
Gets involved in a questionable business venture.
Yeah.
And ultimately ends up in a situation that brings shame and disappointment to the family.
It's a situation that many families can relate to, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Those moments when a loved one makes choices that we don't agree with, choices that might even seem self-destructive or harmful.
Yeah.
And it forces us to confront those questions of, how much can we control the lives of others?
Right.
How much responsibility do we have for the choices they make?
And I love how she doesn't shy away from her own judgments, her own disappointment, her own frustration with her brother's choices.
Right.
She doesn't try to paint herself as this perfectly understanding and accepting sibling.
Yeah.
She's honest about the struggle, the inner conflict she experiences as she tries to reconcile her love for him with her disapproval of his actions.
It's that honesty that makes her writing so relatable, isn't it?
Totally.
To acknowledge those moments when we feel conflicted.
Right.
When our love for someone is tested by their choices. When we struggle to find that balance between acceptance and judgment, between support and disappointment.
And ultimately, she arrives at this place of understanding, recognizing that her brother's path is his own, that she can't control his choices.
Yeah.
And that even though she might not agree with them, she can still love him and support him as best she can.
It's a beautiful example of unconditional love, isn't it?
Totally.
That ability to love someone even when they're making choices that we might not understand or agree with.
Yeah.
To recognize their humanity, their struggles.
Right.
And to offer compassion and support even when it's difficult.
Okay, this next essay takes a more philosophical approach, exploring the nature of suffering and the ways in which our experiences of pain and loss can ultimately lead to growth, transformation, and a deeper appreciation for the beauty and fragility of life.
Oh, the age-old question of why we suffer.
I know, right?
It's a question that philosophers, theologians, and poets have grappled with for centuries, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there are no easy answers.
Right.
No simple explanations for why bad things happen to good people.
Yeah.
Why some lives are marked by tragedy and hardship, while others seem to glide along effortlessly.
Kim Yoonja doesn't attempt to offer any definitive answers.
Right.
Instead, she reflects on her own experiences of loss and suffering, sharing stories of personal heartbreak,
Yeah.
of witnessing the suffering of others, and of grappling with those existential questions
Right.
that inevitably arise when we're confronted with the pain and fragility of life.
It's a reminder that suffering is a universal human experience, isn't it?
Totally.
That no one escapes this life unscathed, that we all encounter loss, pain, disappointment, right? And that those experiences, while incredibly difficult, can also be transformative. Forcing us to re-examine our priorities, our beliefs, and our understanding of what truly matters in life.
And she connects this to the idea of resilience, not as denial of suffering
Right.
or a suppression of difficult emotions,
Yeah.
but as a recognition of our ability to adapt, to find meaning and purpose, even in the midst of pain and loss.
It's about recognizing that inner strength, that capacity for hope,
Yeah.
for healing, for growth that exists within each of us. It's about acknowledging that while we can't control the events that unfold in our lives,
Right.
we can choose how we respond to those events,
Yeah.
how we process those experiences, and how we allow those experiences to shape who we become.
And she connects this to the creative process, suggesting that true artists are those who are willing to delve into those depths of human experience, to explore those dark and difficult places, and to find beauty and meaning even in the midst of suffering and despair.
It's a reminder that art is not always about creating something beautiful or pleasing.
Totally.
It's also about expressing those complex emotions,
Yeah.
those difficult truths,
Right.
those universal experiences that connect us all as human beings. It's about finding a way to transmute that pain into something meaningful, something that resonates with others, something that offers solace or insight or a sense of shared humanity.
All right. This next essay takes us into the realm of romantic love, but with a twist.
Okay.
It's not about the blissful early stages of a relationship,
Yeah.
the honeymoon phase filled with passion and excitement.
Right.
It's about the challenges of long-term love,
Yeah.
the ways in which relationships evolve over time, the inevitable conflicts and compromises that arise, and the need to find new ways to connect, to communicate, and to keep the spark alive.
The complexities of long-term love.
It's real.
It's a topic that's often romanticized in popular culture.
Yeah.
But the reality is that maintaining a healthy, fulfilling relationship over the long haul requires effort, communication,
Yeah.
compromise,
Totally.
and a willingness to adapt to those inevitable changes
Yeah.
that occur as individuals grow and evolve.
She starts by reflecting on her own marriage,
Okay.
acknowledging the ups and downs, the moments of passion and joy, but also the periods of distance, frustration, and even resentment that have crept in over the years.
It happened.
And she's honest about the work it takes to navigate those challenges, to communicate effectively, to find ways to reconnect, and to keep the flame of love burning amidst the demands of daily life. The pressures of work and family, and the inevitable changes that occur as individuals and as a couple.
It's a reminder that love is not a static state, isn't it?
It's not.
It's a dynamic process.
Yeah.
A journey that requires constant attention nurturing and a willingness to adapt to those inevitable shifts that occur over time.
And she uses the metaphor of a garden to illustrate this concept. She talks about how a garden requires constant tending, watering, weeding, and pruning to thrive.
Yeah.
And she suggests that relationships are similar.
Yeah.
In that they require ongoing effort, communication, and a willingness to let go of those things that are no longer serving the relationship in order to make space for new growth and connection.
It's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of intentionality in relationship.
Yeah.
The need to make those conscious choices, to invest time and energy and to cultivate those qualities of love, respect and understanding that form the foundation of a strong and enduring partnership.
Okay, this next essay is one that I think will resonate with anyone who has ever felt a deep connection to the natural world, who has found solace and inspiration in the beauty of nature, and who has grappled with those questions of our place in the grand scheme of things, our interconnectedness with all living beings, and the legacy we leave behind.
The theme of nature and our relationship to it.
I know.
It's a theme that's been explored in literature, art, philosophy, and spirituality throughout human history, hasn't it?
It really has.
That sense of awe and wonder we experience when we immerse ourselves in the natural world. The recognition of our interconnectedness with all living things.
Totally.
And the questions it raises about our place in the universe, our purpose, and our legacy.
She starts by describing a walk she takes through a forest.
Okay.
And she talks about the way the sunlight filters through the leaves, the sounds of the birds singing, the scent of the earth, and the way those sensory experiences evoke a sense of peace, of connection, of belonging.
It's a beautiful reminder of the power of nature to ground us, to soothe our souls, to reconnect us to something larger than ourselves.
And as she walks, she begins to reflect on the cycles of life and death that are so evident in the natural world. The way trees grow tall and strong, eventually wither and decay, only to nourish new life in the forest floor.
It's a powerful metaphor for the cyclical nature of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way endings and beginnings are intertwined, how loss and renewal are part of the same process.
Right.
How even in death, there's a beauty and a purpose.
Yeah.
A contribution to the ongoing cycle of life.
And she connects this to her own life, reflecting on her own mortality, the legacy she hopes to leave behind, and the ways in which she can contribute to the world in a positive and meaningful way.
It's a reminder to live intentionally, isn't it?
Totally.
To be mindful of the choices we make, an impact we have on others, and the legacy we leave behind. It's about recognizing that our lives are not just about our own individual pursuits. They're also about our contributions to something larger than ourselves, to our families, our communities, and to the world as a whole.
And she closes the essay with this beautiful image of a single leaf falling from a tree.
Oh, wow.
Gently spiraling down to the forest floor.
Yeah.
Returning to the earth from which it came, nourishing new life, becoming part of the ongoing cycle of creation and destruction, growth and decay.
It's a powerful image of completion, of letting go.
Yeah.
of surrendering to the natural flow of life and death, of recognizing that our individual lives are but a small part of a much larger tapestry.
Right.
A tapestry that's been woven over millennia, a tapestry that will continue long after we're gone.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this incredible collection of essays, I'm struck by the depth of Kim Il-young's insights, her willingness to explore those universal themes of love loss, resilience, aging nature art, and the search for meaning with such honesty, vulnerability, and wisdom.
I agree.
It's really amazing.
It's been a real privilege to delve into her work with you.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Each essay has offered a glimpse into her heart, her mind, her unique perspective on the world. But it's also sparked so many reflections on our own lives, our own experiences, and those universal questions that we all grapple with as human beings.
And what I find so inspiring about her work is that she doesn't offer easy answers or simplistic solutions.
Right.
She's not preaching or dictating. She's inviting us into a conversation, a shared exploration of those complexities, those contradictions, those messy and beautiful truths that make up the human experience.
It's about embracing that messiness, isn't it?
Totally.
Recognizing that life is not always neat or tidy or predictable, that there are moments of joy, sorrow, of beauty, a darkness, of love and Dee's loss. And that it's in those contrasts, those contradictions, that we find meaning, depth, and a richer appreciation for the tapestry of life.
So, dear listener, what resonated with you in these essays? What insights did you glean?
What spoke to you?
What questions are you still pondering? How have these stories challenged or expanded your own understanding of the world and your place within it?
We encourage you to seek out Kim Il-young's work and delve deeper into those themes that spoke to you. And most importantly, take these insights, these stories, these reflections, and apply them to your own life, your own relationships, and your own journey of self-discovery.
It's all a journey.
The world is waiting to be explored, both within and beyond ourselves.
That's it for our deep dive today.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking those moments of beauty and connection that make life so rich and meaningful.
Happy listening.